Welcome to the Lifestylist Podcast, ladies.
Thank you.
And we're also broadcasting this, of course, on social media and recording for YouTube. So if you're listening to this, know that you can watch this experience on YouTube. And speaking of experience, for those of you listening, across from where we sit, the three of us, well, the four of us actually, because Cookie's on my lap. It's her, maybe her first live podcast. She's done a couple on Skype. But across from me, and you can see this in the Facebook group if you join the Lifestylist Facebook group, because I've posted it there, but there's this mat with all of these giant crystals, and I just laid there for, 18, 20 minutes or something?
Yeah.
And had this insane experience, and it was wonderful, but I don't know that I would advise anyone do that before they're supposed to be really smart and lead a conversation. I'm so zenned out. I want to go in the corner, just lay down and kind of take a rest, but here we are. So what was it, ladies, that you just did to me and for me on that crystalline mat over there?
Well, would we call it a crystal biohacking of some sort? I mean, I think what's so cool about this mat is that it recalibrates you. So it's calming down your nervous system, which you felt that was your very first result when you jumped off. And it's like a battery where you plug back in and recharge yourself. And we've only had it for a bit, so we've been playing around with it. But Heather adding crystals into the...
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's pretty cool about the mat is just...
What's the mat called? Does it have a name?
It's, what is
the
it?
iMRS.
iMRS.
Oh, it's a PEMF situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think? Do you like
that?
that?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So do we. They had, when they said that the one pad had NASA technology, or like we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
if it's good enough for space, it's good enough for me.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And the astronauts.
And it was interesting because I was asking a couple people if I could borrow it and just for, 24 hours. And all four people told me no. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, we're good friends. I mean, I'm just going to, can I borrow it? And they're like, no, I can't have it out of my energy field. So Timmi and I decided we get one. And now I understand when somebody's like, hey, can I borrow one? And so we're going to probably get another one here for Energy Muse just because
cool.
We want to have it accessible at all times.
And is the LED eye mask part of that protocol? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And they have a probe and a mat and a whole bunch of different accessories and a heart rate monitor.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So,
cool.
we could have done a whole
Does the heart rate
analysis.
monitor measure heart rate variability or just your heart rate? Do you happen to know?
Wasn't it? It was, because it was more about if you're in
parasympathetic
or
and
sympathetic. So it shows you how fast you shift or if you even shift in that time period.
Okay,
so that's
cool.
more of what the heart rate
Shockingly, one of the biohacks that I don't have, which is totally weird. I have used one of those mats before, but as I was on it, I was like, why don't I have this at home?
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. But you have some great gadgets at
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of fun stuff to work with.
We have the biomat. We've had that for years.
Oh, yeah.
And they definitely feel completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the PEMF is another level of,
That's what we thought. So.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, good.
Well,
I'm glad you know about it.
Thank you for that experience. Okay. And then those two, are those amethyst, those giant ones, or are those something else?
So it's
a sad story right there.
Timmi and I bought those at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show this year, and we fell in love with them because look at the back of it. It looks like that
Van Gogh.
That Van Gogh.
Oh,
and that's natural. That's not painted. So anyway, today after we were setting everything up, somebody called and bought them.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
They're going to be gone. So Luke, this is it. This is their one and only appearance live.
Wow.
They're going to be going to Napa Valley.
I feel so honored, and
as
you're going to find out, I know absolutely zero about crystals, which is why this is going to be so fun for me and hopefully the audience. But I've always intuited that. Sorry, guys. Cookie's like, you want to be on the show?
You know what I love about Cookie is Cookie's just chilling it in.
I just put Cookie on the podcast.
Cookie is talking to us. Dog talk. Okay.
What are you doing, babe? You're so safe right now.
Oh wait. Whoa, Cooks.
Hang on, you guys. Cookie's got something to add to the conversation. Now she's not going to do it. There we go. You take the mic away and she starts. What are you doing,
Cookie
babe?
is seeing something.
She's seeing entities.
Yeah. No, that is crazy.
So anyway, back to my story. So knowing nothing about crystals, I've always had this really strong intuitive pull that I want 2 amethysts that size, one on either side of my bed while I sleep. Mm-hmm. Like the nights, like those would replace the nightstand and just get blasted with whatever those do. So we're going to find out what they do. But yeah, it's a really fantastic whole space you've got going on here. So I better get into the conversation in the interest of time. But before we do, and before I forget, is this space open to the public at all? Can people come here and buy crystals and stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
We more are online. But the other half of the business is more where people want to come in.
Showroom.
A showroom.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Just wanted to clarify that.
A lot of people want to touch and feel crystals, and so they can.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I know you guys have a huge online business and stuff. And we're in, those of you listening, we're kind of in an industrial park. So I was like, I don't know, is this just your cool headquarters, or can people come here and have the experience? All right, so let's jump right into this then. What the hell are crystals?
You know what? That's a good question. That is a good question. You know, I mean, to some people they're rock, and they are. You know what I mean? They're a mineral. They come from our earth, and I look at them as a tool, really. It's another biohack that you can use. And for me, being a researcher and just always in my head and prove it to me and skeptical, everyone talked about energy, and I've been into this about 27 years now, but it was energy that I could hold on to, and I could get my head around that because I couldn't see it, but I could feel it if I held onto it. So that's what really started the journey for me. But, you know, Timmi's completely...
I'm probably more like you, because Heather and I have been friends almost, I hate to date ourselves, but 43 years.
Since 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah, first grade actually.
First grade?
And so I knew nothing about crystals. I was just like, like, oh my gosh, what is she into now? And Heather would test things on me, and she came up with our prosperity necklace, which was made out of jade. For wearing it on your body, you will get a result of prosperity. I'm like, you know what? There's something to this. So I was one of 9 people, and I was in the garment industry for many years, but I sold to all the major big boxes, and I knew how to get things made. So I'm like, hey, if I know nothing about crystals and we can help other people because I felt helped, let's get these made and get out there and start selling them. And that's what we did. Sold them out of the trunks of our car on the streets of Manhattan Beach almost 18 years ago.
Yeah.
I've sold some stuff out of the trunk of my car.
Yeah. Well, tell us. Come on now. Do tell.
No, you know what I just thought of is I used to smoke Cuban cigars.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
I can't do it anymore because I get so horribly addicted to them. But I was thinking of I used to meet this guy in an alley in Venice, and he would pop open his trunk after he'd come back from Havana.
Wow.
So you can't have Cuban cigars here legally,
you
know, they're contraband. And so, we'd like look around, and he'd pop the trunk, and then he'd open the boxes and smell them. It was a really cool experience, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know.
Well, that's what was happening.
I know the
with
back
our
of the
jewelry.
trunk deals.
Yeah.
Yours sounds like a little more legal and legitimate. So,
well,
you know what happened was at the time
you're
I was,
like, what?
well,
depends what country they're
yeah,
from.
exactly. At the time, I was feng shuiing a lot of celebrities and athletes' homes, and we would get invited to these Hollywood parties, and people would be like, bring your beads, man, bring your beads. It was like it was like a drug deal going on, and we'd be ushered in back rooms, and we would be selling these energy beads, and people were throwing cash at us, and it was awesome. And for about 2 years, it was like that until we had to learn how to be in business, and then that's when the amazing lessons started.
Oh yeah.
So I want to get into some of the different applications of crystals and the different types. And before I do that, I just want to preface it by saying I think this is the first interview I've ever done. Skeptic is too strong of a word, but this is the first kind of modality that I haven't totally been on board with, and just I'm all in and I'm already doing it, and I just want to teach people that don't know about it. This is one of those things where I've not ever really resonated that strongly toward crystals.
Yeah.
And it's really strange because, I meditate, I believe in energy work, all kinds of even more out there stuff, I think, than crystals. But for some reason, this is one of those things where I have one in my hand or one on me, and I'm kind of like, does this do anything? It's the one thing I'm slightly skeptical about. So I'm really excited to learn more,
For us, crystals are manifestors, and I'll have to tell you, I think for a year we've been manifesting this moment that you would be sitting in our space talking to us.
Really?
Because one of the things why we really were psyched and honored to be part of this is because of what you just said right now, because there are a lot of people that feel like you, and I think that if we could take maybe some of the woo-woo out of it, and this, not that it's not to some people, but maybe take some of the stigma that it has and maybe ground it and keep it really simple and not maybe make it so standoffish.
Yeah.
And we thought that you would be a great person to be that.
I think
voice,
so.
thank
I
you.
think so for a number of reasons. One, because while skeptical is not even the right word. It's just inexperienced, right? And not just totally enamored with the thing and like
But that's
all in.
smart. That's smart.
But at the same time, I'm also very open-minded, and I think I have a pretty good degree of discernment and gut feeling on something. And so I wouldn't be here unless I had a gut feeling that there's something to this that needs to be explored. And I think also maybe why you've been excited and feeling that too is I have a lot of women that listen to my show, but maybe a little bit fewer men, but still quite a lot of men. And I've never known any man that have been like, dude, check out this crystal, bro.
Right.
Like, guys do not get crystals. It's a totally female thing. And so I'm like, all right, I want to be like the dude's guide to crystals here today.
We like that.
All right. Well, we want you to
and
be
help
that
guys
person.
get on board, because I've always liked them just because they're beautiful, and I'm just visual and I love beauty, but you know, I want to get into the energy of it. So essentially, crystals, they obviously come from the earth. They're some people would refer to them as rocks. I mean, they are a certain type of rock. They just happen to be clear or translucent, or have all of these different properties that aren't
Minerals. They all are composed of
right.
different
Okay.
minerals.
So they're not like, you're just rock that you'd find on the beach or something like that. Do any of them come from outer space?
Well, yeah.
I mean, everything comes from outer space in a sense, but
Are
I
we
mean,
outer space?
Sometimes
there's
we
word
feel
on
like
the
it.
street that we're the ones. But
are any crystals formed from meteorites or anything otherworldly that you're aware of?
A lot of people, it's a kind of in our industry, a lot of people say that moldavite comes from Mars, and you have other people, we have a lot of scientists and people that are in our industry, because a lot of physicists and things like that, they're collecting the meteorites. So when we go to the Gem and Mineral Show, you've got these little specks from Mars that are selling for $10,000. It's crazy.
And people are collecting them like nobody's business.
You've got Silicon Valley over there, and it's like the line is long, and these guys are just dealing pieces of the moon and things like that. Some people say moldavites from Mars. I do know that, what we've been noticing is like peridot is in some of the volcanic. And when we were looking at the energy of Mars, they were finding some of the same minerals on Mars that we have here. So definitely you've got the tektites, you've got, Shungite, my favorite, but that's not from outer space,
Sometimes I feel like it is.
It is. It does feel galactic.
I wanted to talk about Shungite in a little bit.
Obsessed.
That's some weird. We
This
had a
is it.
conversation on the phone
Right here.
about that a
Shungite.
couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff. So let's talk about the history then. In terms of them having energy that can be used for crazy sounding things like manifesting a love relationship, or making more money or abundance, or balancing your home, like in a feng shui application. In recorded history, how long have people been known to use crystals for other than, building a freaking garden or something?
Right.
Like not using them as just a rock, but for, their sort of supernatural powers.
Well, if you go back, every ancient civilization since the beginning of time had used crystals. I mean, if you look at the Babylonians, if you look at the Chinese, if you look at the Egyptians, they buried with them. If you look at the Romans, they had them on in war. If you look at Native Americans, there's turquoise on the belt for digestion. I mean, Ayurvedic medicine, they used to grind it up and ingest it. I mean, so you look back into what I love about crystals is they keep reinventing themselves. I mean, long ago they were used in the breastplates, in Revelations 21:20, there's the 12 stones that line the gates of heaven.
Whoa.
And yet
That's
today,
trippy.
they've reinvented themselves in the LCD screens, liquid crystal display.
What?
And and if you look at some of the next technology that they've said, Apple was working on is that this screen would be made of blue sapphires, and, lasers, and the high technology now is made with all of these minerals. So
and you were mentioning earlier computer microchips.
The silicone.
Yeah. Like
the disc.
How are we all communicating is through this silicon chip that's in computers. It's in your watches. It's in timers. And so if that's a source of communication and it's programmable in computers, well, how come we can't program ourselves as a computer chip? And is that available? And is this conversation, as you know, because I love listening to you, there is this expanded vision where everybody has this one concept of how everything has to be in human terms. But as we evolve and as physics evolves and as everything's growing, it's mind blowing. There's a mine that National Geographic did it. Is it the Nika mine in Mexico?
It's in Chihuahua.
Yeah, and they went down, NASA scientists went in, you got to watch this National Geographic, and they went in and there's selenite, which we have it on here, the size of redwood trees. And these NASA scientists went down, they're like, wait, what's this? This is 5 miles deep into our planet. What's going on down here? They didn't even, they couldn't even comprehend it.
They were veins that hooked to other veins in
Whoa.
other veins.
Yeah.
Like Journey to the Center of the Earth type.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and when you see
Yeah.
these pictures
crazy.
and these NASA scientists, and they look like they're a teeny little ball on these crystals that are thousands and thousands of all of that. And now, sadly, that mine
closed.
supposedly has been closed.
Oh, interesting.
Can't get into that mine anymore.
That's Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of strange things happen in Mexico. So that's very interesting. There's a lot to unpack there because, as I was saying, coming from a place that's not just totally bought into the whole crystal thing, it's funny because I have bought into concepts and practices like prayer and having
Fantastic.
love for other people and being able to transmute negative energy in a room by just blasting it with love. And I do all kinds of weird metaphysical stuff like that all day long, every day.
Good.
But it's and that's just normal to me. And I'm usually the guy that's explaining to someone who's more skeptical that it doesn't need to have a scientific, you don't need to have like a double-blind study to tell you that love works. I mean, my puppy walks in the room and everybody melts. What is that? Because it's a cute puppy? No, because it's a little love bunny, know? And so I'm liking starting to get my head around this. And the fact that everything is energy at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But that communication piece is very interesting. That's trippy shit. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I think about water in terms of, the carrier of a frequency or something that's programmable. But so is what you're describing how we can program a phone or a computer chip with data, then are some of the practices that we see in this new agey kind of woo-woo crystal scene, is the programming of them then done kind of more in an energetic, intentional way, but we're programming into a crystal a certain imprint of an idea or a concept or something? How does that work?
So for me, and I've been doing this 27 years, like if this is what I think is important for people to know. If you think that a crystal is going to just change your life because you have a crystal, that all of a sudden everything is going to change, you're going to be disappointed, because at the end of the day, the only way that you change your life is through you. The crystals are a tool. So for me, I've never really got a crystal and been like, okay, I've never used them like that. But for me, I'm like, okay, so maybe I have some money shit I got to work through, okay? And they call this fool's gold because it looks like gold. What I love about the crystal world, pyrite, because it just looks like gold. And so for me, I'm like, you know what? I got to break through some of my barriers. I use it as a touchstone. I use it as something like I got to do more inner work. I'm not expecting this to do it for me, but I like to have it as something that's around that reminds me, oh, you're getting stuck. You're going into old patterns, and it helps me to have something to hold on to while I'm working through things.
But I think something you always say, which I love, is when you're not in that state to remind yourself to be where you want to be, it holds that energy for you. So it can be there and to remind you again. It's just that touchstone.
Right.
You always say that. I love that.
Where does that term touchstone come from? Do you happen to know?
I don't know, but I
don't really know. Is touching a stone.
It is touching a stone. It's
I wonder. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
It's one of those old timey sort of terms,
Right.
like, and it's the touchstone of our country. That da da da.
Absolutely.
It's that kind of.
Right.
There's something to touching the stone. I'm going to have to research that.
But the earth has this magnetic pull, and I think what's happening right now, because you have to understand, we've been doing this for 17 years, and as of 2 years ago, now it's a time that people coming out of the crystal closet. I mean, if you knew how many people are into crystals, it would blow your mind, okay? The top people in the world, of course, everyone wants that competitive edge, but nobody's talking about it. Up until 2 years ago, you could mention it, but we wouldn't be in business for 17 years if people weren't buying crystals and if they weren't getting results.
Right.
We are in a results orient, and I'm going to be honest, so am I. I do a ton of stuff similar to you. I'll try stuff. I'll do stuff. I'm a formula junkie. I love it all. But if it doesn't work, I really don't have time. I'm married. I've got kids. I've got a company. There's just not a lot of time in a day. So I like to keep the things that work, but and then discard the other ones. But I just think that the conversation's happening, but people are using this as, I think, in many ways, when you feel like you're spinning out of control. I don't know about you guys, but even this last week, I felt the energy of the planets. I feel the more tuned in. I like you, and I think what we really were happy that you came today is you almost seem like you're a human tuning fork. And so I love that, where it's in calibration, but sometimes when you're off, when you're in tune, and you hold something that's solid, you're like, whew, okay, ground in. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to just touch something to remind yourself. Yeah. And it could be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be, I am programming now to the light to go to the galaxy. I mean, some people do, and they should, but I don't know if, I think there's a practicality as well to it.
But I think, too, people look at Heather and I as the bridge between the woo-woo and the now. Now, crystals just happen to be trendy right now, but we've been, like Heather said, we're on our 18th year. We were kind of ahead of our time when we came out with crystals, and people were kind of in that woo-woo stage, but we were never really woo-woo. So I think we're at the right place at the right time now.
Oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because back in the day, I guess I'm thinking before
like
Instagram.
3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day, 3 years ago.
Before there was this sort of trend in health and wellness of the kind of now age, the crystal green juice yoga girls and this whole like alchemy artwork and all that whole thing that's going on, which I love.
Yeah.
Before that, crystals were straight up Sedona. Like
totally
straight up.
The alien ship is coming. We're all getting prepared, and then we have our crystals ready. It was kind of in that realm, which I think is how I've had to get my head around it. But then again, as you said, well, you guys have been in business this long. Why would people still be buying crystals
if they
didn't do something? Yeah.
And I have to say this because our business started because of men. Yeah. And I love that you said that because, I mean, my husband's from Springfield, Missouri. Okay. So, yeah, he has him in the house because he's kind of, I mean, that's what I do. But
he doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't. You're absolutely
right. But he's
right.
not like, you know what I'm saying? This isn't his jam, but I mean, this is what we do.
Yeah.
But the point is that I just think that it doesn't have to, you don't have to like live it by it. You could have the stones around you and they do affect you. Mm-hmm. You know, they do. It's this grounding energy. It really is.
I mean, we definitely say when you come to work at Energy Muse, disclaimer, things might stir up because these little guys do tend to intensify an energy, good, bad, or otherwise. They are, what do you always say? They're neutral. Right. So they don't know good, bad. They just intensify things.
But to the point of men, I mean, our company started, Richie Sambora was one of the first people, Mark McGuire when he was playing baseball. Who else? There was a couple
Tony Robbins.
There's, and like these men.
Is Tony Robbins into crystals?
You know what? I don't know if he's into crystals. I don't know. I think he's in. I couldn't talk to that point. I know that he's a smart businessman and he's open-minded, but he's worn this jewelry for how many years now?
15.
He has access to everything.
He has that little pendant thing.
That coin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So
that's dope.
So he has access.
I think
to
don't they
at
his? I went to one of his events recently. I think they sell some.
That's us.
That's us.
Copy of that's you guys.
Well, that's us. That we
make them for the foundation.
So cool.
So I mean, he's a smart guy.
That says a lot because he's someone, as you said, that has access to any modality, any device 100%. In the world, but knows everyone.
And it's part of his formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he gets results and he's consistent, which I think is the truth of anything. If you're consistent and you stay connected to something, you will get a result. Notice it wasn't like the crystal. It's just you'll get the result because you have a focused intention and you're moving towards it.
Well, even something completely non-linear and intangible like prayer, I really don't think prayer works unless you're a willing participant in manifesting the result of that prayer.
Absolutely.
I always say, trust God, but tie up your camel. You know, it's like, it's a relationship with the unseen hand. You know, it's a two-way street. And I think all of the technologies are really like that too. I mean, there's not very many things that you can just passively go, okay, fix me.
No.
Make my life.
We wish.
Believe me, just because of our access to a lot of things, if there was a fix me thing, we'd already be doing it. We wouldn't even be talking to you.
Right.
There's no way out. You got to go through the tunnel. You got to do the work. You got to deal with. This is what Earth is about. It's a life school. You know what I'm saying? And so there's no really big. There's ways you could go around it faster, but you still got to do it. You have to do it. You got to go through the fire to get to the light.
With the crystals, something that I've always felt, and I think it goes back to what I was saying, I want these giant 6-foot amethysts next to my bed. I feel like if they're really big, they're going to do something. But if it's one that fits in my pocket, it's like, this thing's dumb. You know, like I've been given crystal. Oh, hey, this crystal, it's in a gift bag or something like that. A little piece of abalone and a Palo Santo, and it looks nice. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. But I'm never like, okay, I'm going to keep this crystal with me and it's going to protect me or do this or that. But some big ass rocks like you have, when I see that, it's just, maybe it's a guy thing. I'm like, that's impressive. That it seems to me that that's doing something. Have you noticed that there's any relevance as to, you know, does size matter?
Does size matter? We were going to go there. But I loved what you said before. It's like with prayer, you have to make that investment, that commitment.
Yeah.
Same thing with crystals. Like you've got to hang out with the crystal and know like what the energy is. What does it feel like? And how would you do that? Carry it in your pocket. Keep it on your bedside. You have to have it around you so you know what that feeling is like for you. So, I mean, I do think sometimes bigger crystals with more energy can be more powerful. But if you're just starting to delve into all this, you have to start somewhere.
But sometimes more is not necessarily more, because I know that there was a point in my house that I had so many crystals. I was coming home and I was a complete whack job, and so was our family. It was too tricked out.
Really?
And so I had to actually take a lot of them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know, I'm a Scorpio. I'm like, you know, if I
Scorpio
get up 10,
power, babe.
if I get up 10, then what if I had a 50? What if I had 100? What if I had 300? And what was happening is that it wasn't making me calmer or better. It was making me more manic. And as an addictive personality type, that's something that I got to watch. And so I had to scale back and I had to let that go, because I realized having 5 or 6 was doing a lot more for me than several hundred.
Well, I think your new thing is this year you were trying to kind of challenge people, pick one stone. Yeah. And you should talk about that.
And the challenge isn't even about the crystals, which is nice. It's your touchstone, but it's take one thing and just do it fully. Yeah. Like take the juicy parts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it was maybe a challenge I even had for myself. Like stay consistent with one thing, because I'm interested in so many things. It's easy there's so many cool things out there right now. I mean, come on.
It's also really also
cool.
difficult to the struggle I have. It's difficult to quantify what's working and what's not.
Yeah, because you're doing
I'll discover some new thing and then I post about it and everyone says, is it working? I go, I have to be honest. I really don't know, because there's the 50 other things that are going on too.
Totally.
So if I wanted to immerse myself with, say, one stone, one crystal or a number of crystals, I mean, I'd have to really pay close attention to everything else and minimize some of the other influences so that I could sort of do an isolated experiment of sorts,
Yeah, you would.
So I had this man named Orem Miller over the other day. He's this EMF
Oh, the EMF guy?
Yeah. He's
yeah, I've talked to Orem.
Oh, I love him.
Did he scan your house for the EMFs?
He came over. I offered, the reason I bring this up, because it kind of goes back to the science thing. Anyway, he was looking for a case study house on, all the EMFs. So they have their annual meeting where like all the EMF guys come from, all parts of the world. And so they had it at my house.
Oh my God. If that ever happens again, please invite me.
Okay, first of all, is he
obsessed.
the coolest person on the planet?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so.
We had a long phone call. He seems like a very knowledgeable guy.
He is. And he's just, I like him a lot. I connected with him. He's just really there. But so, I had really some smart people, these biochemists and physics. And so I brought out the Shungite and I'm like, hey guys, and can we do a mapping on this? And so what happened was this later on, after they were at my house for 10 hours. So after this bioengineer, his name was this long, his, credentials.
Right.
So he takes me aside. He goes, look, these RAs are not going to do anything on your Shungite because they're foundational. This is EMF foundational. But he said this next wave of EMF, they're looking into some of these other modalities like the Shungite, and they're expanding out. So I mention this because science is starting to, we don't maybe know a lot about the crystals because has science really done a lot of research on it? Although these crystals have been around longer than we've all been around.
Longer than all the scientists.
Yeah, millions and millions of years. They've seen earth changes. They've hold those stories within their walls. And so that's our common denominator. It's, it's what we all have in common. Our feet are on the earth. So
Right.
we're always looking up, but maybe we need to look down. But, they weren't, it was nice. I was bringing it up, but, it wasn't like that's where the conversation was. But it was nice to hear that the conversation down the road could go there.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot to know in that whole, there's a lot going on.
Oh, the EMF thing. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's interesting that in a lot of the EMF blocking or protection devices that have come out, they're always infused with some sort of crystal dust or, there's always an element from nature involved in that to create
to maybe ground it.
Yeah, harmonizing effect and whatnot. And we had a talk a couple years ago about Shungite.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were like, what's the deal? What do you know? And I said, what do you know?
Yeah.
What was your inquiry about this particular Shungite? Because to me, this is one of the most fascinating substances on the planet.
Who did I talk to the other day? He's the one, was it Ormica?
Rafi?
Rafi. Okay. So
Yeah.
I talked to him a while back because I'm on the prowl for Shungite. I'm always, and he had worked with a lot of people, but the big conversation is Shungite EMF neutralizer? Does this really work? Where's the scientific data on it? And it hasn't really come up for the EMF vessel. It's come up with purification in Russia and in purifying water because of the carbon molecular structure. But I was asking him about it, and he's like, yeah, there's something to it, but not, nobody's looking at it yet. Like, you're going to be you're spinning your wheels.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
But I'm like, I know there's something down
So
there.
the search kind of ended with Rafi.
Well, it doesn't. No, it never ends because that's kind of what makes I'm looking for some. I know that Dave Asprey at some point is curious. There's people that are curious, but we were at Dr. McCullough the other day, and I'm like, hey, what do you think of Shungite? And he's like, it doesn't. I did all my meters on it. It doesn't work. But once again, there's controversy with that because what meters are you putting on it, and how do you know it doesn't work? And so I think there's just more. I think if there's more conversation about it, there might be more interest with science taking a look at some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think so too.
The molecular structure of that mineral, that's the only place in nature it is found. So the pharmaceutical industry is recreating this, but they can't find this only in one place on the planet. This molecular structure that won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1996.
The fullerenes.
Yeah, the fullerenes. So
What's that?
it's like these they're like buckyballs, and so what happens is they help to suck free radicals from the body. So that's why drinking this elite Shungite helps to detoxify. So
Elite Shungite water. Yeah.
So once again, it's obviously we have so many filtrations, and I think at one point his filters was it Rafi's
Omega mix filters,
with the Shungite.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, he does, yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so there's more to be looked at.
I think there will have to be an incentive with science that's either make someone noteworthy or rich.
Well, you know what?
The discoveries come when someone's like, I want to find my thing and go down in history and have a name of, the inventor of or discoverer of, or there has to be some, potential product associated with it.
And also, I think that there is something there because if you look at who's buying all the mines right now, it's the governments.
Right. Interesting. So science, we have to wait a little bit to catch up.
Yeah.
But you have lots of anecdotal
we do,
experience
and I
going
think
back
that
a
we
long
have
time.
a lot of people that have gotten results regardless of it.
Right.
So I think that that's something to consider.
Just testimonies.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to using crystals in order to bring yourself into alignment with various outcomes or balance, how does that work? In your book, you lay out like a number of different rituals and things like that. where do these rituals come from? Who thought of them? Did you come up with them? Are they recorded somewhere from some culture? And how do those things work? If you're feeling an internal block, like we were working on some stuff with me earlier, I'm going, yeah, you know what? I really want to own a home, and I want to have a peaceful house with some trees, and there's things I want to manifest materially, but I know that I have to be in alignment with that internally first. So say if somebody wanted to work through something like that, or a relationship barrier, what are some of those rituals and where do they come from?
Well, just to preface, like our book is kind of like a recipe book.
Right.
So you don't have to read it from the beginning to the end. You kind of go to the area, let's say prosperity or whatever you're working on, and you can work with those recipes or rituals.
I went right to the sex part.
All right. Well, there you go.
I was like, blah, 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 blah. Sex and money. Okay, I'm going into this ritual right now.
Great themes. But, we always say go with what your gut is telling you. Like if what we say is in the book is something that doesn't quite feel right, tweak it. Go with your intuition and try something else. But Heather is really good with formulas. That's kind of what she's come into this life with, and making recipes and formulas up with crystals, because that is what you do. You work with them.
Yeah. I mean, when I was, in my late 20s, I chucked a lot of things, and I went and started studying with indigenous people and healers, and everyone thought I was literally insane. My parents are like, this isn't what we raised you to be doing. What are you doing?
You took a 360.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it wasn't a time where I was, getting invited to all the parties and like the hip person. People thought I was out of it. But during that time period, I was studying with kahunas and medicine people. And do you know Listone therapy, that hot basalt rock therapy that they do in spas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned from the lady that originated that. And I remember going to Burke Williams years and years ago, and I'm like, hey, I know this hot rock with marbles. It's for fibromyalgia. It's about getting fear out of the body. And they're like, that's never going to work. Nobody will ever be into it. And now look at it. It's like this huge thing. So sometimes being ahead of your time isn't the best thing. But what I learned through all these things, probably similar to what you've learned with your biohacking and all these things, you start getting in tune with like, what works for me? Like, I'll take a supplement. I'll be like, or, you know what I mean? I know my body well enough to know what's going to, and I think that that's really the formula where we're trying to figure out who we are. What's our personal formula? Because what mine is not going to be yours, is not going to be Timmy's. But I think what we're all doing is to inspire people, to educate them enough to find what theirs is. And ours is just about getting grounded, getting centered. Because I was a spaz. I'm probably still a spaz. You know what I mean? I'm AAA personality type. I need something I could go to the outer realms. I like meditating. I like going to the galaxy. For me, I got to ground. I got to deal with this earth plane and all this, like, got to get house and blah, blah, you know what I mean? All these like physicalities. So this helps ground it on in. And there's a lot of people right now that want to know how to get calm. You know what I mean? Just like
stress-free.
Just like, and that might only be for 10 minutes, but just like, how do I find 10 minutes of just normalcy?
So in your book, there's these, I have one right here. There's like these, I think it's really fascinating because as I was reading it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. So there's like new moon wishes ritual.
Right.
And so then there's what you'll need. You'll need this pen, you need this certain quartz, these Lumerian seed crystals, certain numbers of them and things like that. Have you just developed these recipes in all these years that you've been into this stuff?
Yeah, I think that what our book is 25 years of secrets. On page 32, there is, if you guys want to change your life today, whether you believe in any of this stuff or not, I promise you, because it works through time. There's a prayer that Bobby Lake Tom gave us, and it's an ancient medicine prayer. And if you walk through your house and you sage your house and you say this prayer exactly how it is said, something will shift. And
can you do it for us right now?
Oh, we'll say it. Okay. And there's parts of it where I called him and I'm like, you know what? I don't know. This is kind of spooky. He's like, just do the prayer as it was written, because this has been in the tradition for hundreds and hundreds of years.
And he's never allowed it to be published.
So this, and
Who's he? Who's this guy?
This is Bobby Lake Tom. He's this medicine man. If you look him up, he's one of the like one of the few living Native American, like the real deal.
Oh, cool.
Bad, yeah. So I had done, because I'm one of those people. Come on, I'm looking for information. I'm looking for the secrets. I'm looking for the formulas, because you know what?
I'm surprised you don't have a podcast.
What? Why? I listen to yours. That's what you're doing. I don't. Yeah, you're already doing it. Yours would be that's what I'd want to be doing, and you're already doing it.
I guess you can have other people do it.
Rats.
You can have other people do it for you.
Yeah, you're already doing it.
I'm the same way though. I'm obsessed with finding, the root of the truth, and then the truth behind the truth, and
like how do I get to A to Z quickly?
Yeah.
How do I do it? I mean, I got to do it, but I want to get there fast. And what this book was, and Hay House came to us. We got a call one day that this publisher called us up and said, "Will you write this book?" And we didn't think that it was true, and so we never called them back. And they called back again. They're like, "Hey, look, we want you guys to write this book." So everything kind of.
Well, and Hay House had not been into the crystal genre. So they're like, you are the leaders in this industry. We want you to write this book so people can understand about crystals, just like you can.
Yeah. That's cool. Good
so
for
this
you
is
guys.
a hack.
That's a very high compliment.
It was an
Luke.
honor. It was an honor.
It was an honor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I'm sure you need to, why do you not have a book out? I mean, you need to
Seriously.
have a book out. Did we seed that over there in your,
Excuse me.
because I mean, come on.
Editor, please get that cough out. Thank you. Book, that's funny. You mention it. I just was talking to a friend of mine who just got a book deal, and he's like, "Oh, I talked to my agent about you.
Yeah.
Oh, you should totally have a book."
Oh my God, for sure.
I go, "Oh, really? Shit. I have a few of them in my head. So one of these
get
days,
them down.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get a book out, because I think it would be fabulous, and I could totally see you doing that in your new house.
That's
With
what's
all
up.
of your trees around
Cookie on your lap.
Cookie is hit there,
Yeah.
and just I mean, it's like I don't know. I feel like there was just when you're on, there's so many good things. It's like you just have to decide what it is that you want to do. Like so many good things are coming at you, so that's
I like
great.
that vision. There I am at my lovely dining room table, signing with a Sharpie, stacks of my new book to send off to whomever.
I know, but how long do you think?
VIPs.
When do you foresee that happening?
I think that I'll start hammering out a book thing next year.
Okay, the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I have another business that a lot of people don't know. It's called School of Style, and it's my main thing. It's my day job, and so I'm working really hard on that business this year because that one is profitable and great, and I've had it for 10 years. Is that your heart? No, it's just I started it 10 years ago, and it's a solid business, and it pays the bills, and it helps a lot of people, but it's not in an industry that I'm really passionate about anymore. It's in the fashion industry, education. So I've been putting a lot of energy into that this year, and I'm sort of like that racehorse that's being held behind the gate because I have so many ideas like the book and things like that myself, but I have to kind of keep some of my priorities straight, and that's it's a valuable project, and one that has potential.
So you've been having to write collateral for that school, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a partner, Lauren Messiah, and we this year switched to an online model. We used to do live classes all over the country, and we did that for 9 years. We're in our 10th year, and we just decided to move online so that she and I can both pursue our own individual dreams, such as the one we're living right now.
That's great.
So do you write the course material, or do you okay, because I feel like I see you writing, and it's
she and I do, yeah. I mean, they're video courses, so there's more video than written, but we come up with the curriculum and stuff like that, and we teach people how to have that career. So there's ideas like books and things, and I'm like, okay, it's just I have to be patient and make sure that I take care of my responsibilities there, and that nurture that baby that is now a teenage business,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you guys, it sounds like this is still your passion, but imagine if you had Energy Muse and then you had some other thing take off. Oh, you did a YouTube channel and like, holy shit, everyone loves my YouTube channel.
Right.
Women's empowerment or like whatever you're doing.
Right.
And you're like, oh yeah, but I still have a business. I can't just like walk away from my business.
Right.
Even if it's not necessarily the thing that, you're waking up every morning going, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right.
Because that's how I am with this stuff,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could, but what? I think everyone could feel that. A lot of people could feel that just through your words and stuff like that.
Well, thanks. Anyway, enough about me.
Anyway.
I want to hear your prayer.
Okay, so you guys, seriously, I promise. I'm even saying I promise because this I know works because so many people have done this and so many skeptical people have done it and they said, wow, that did really work. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a minimal investment of a smudge stick that you could get at any natural food store or even go pick it and dry it or whatever you want to do. So it says, great creator. You start at your front door. This is a Native American thing, so nobody's doing any
religious
or whatever words everyone puts to stuff nowadays. But anyway, great creator, the four powers of the universe and all my relations and good spirits in nature. I come before you in a humble manner and ask for your help. The way I understand it, you put this medicine on the earth from the beginning of creation to help human beings. This medicine is used to purify our mind, body, soul, aura, and environment where I now stand. I therefore ask that you accept this medicine and purify me. I ask that you remove all bad spirits, all bad forces, all ghosts and deceased people, or any evil entities and negative energies. I ask that you remove all fear, pain, and sickness, and do not let them return. So that's what's up.
I
So
love that.
I know a lot of people have said, I don't know about the like ghost part, and I don't know, and that's what I called him about. He's like, just say it. How it's been done. Okay.
It works.
Because like over in, Asia and stuff, they're giving, offerings to all this stuff. It's just here in the West for a little bit. So just do it and say it. So I definitely, if anybody is having a problem with, oh my God, I'm stuck. Say you had a fight with a loved one in the house. How do you get the energy out? Say this, break it up, get the sage, get some bells. So anyway,
That's beautiful. I found that prayer to be very non-threatening in any
good.
way.
Well, thank you.
I mean, who after all, who wants ghosts and bad energy around anyway? Even if you don't believe in that.
Totally.
To me, it's like, just
Why
to
not?
be on the safe side.
Just be on the safe side. Exactly.
Taking precautions.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, so we talked about the size of the different crystals. That doesn't so much matter. It's your personal relationship with them. And I guess on a molecular basis, having one molecule of a crystal is essentially the same thing as having a 6 foot tall one, really, because it's just, holographic in a sense, right? So we covered that. Then
Wow, Luke, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
How you just summed that up so fast. You're good.
Okay.
He's getting
All right.
it.
Okay.
He's got it.
I'm sitting in a room full of crystals.
Well, you're feeling it. I mean, wow. Can we write that down?
I
That was
know,
great.
that was good.
If
Okay, that
I'm
was
not
really good.
if I'm not absorbing what's happening here, something's wrong
You
with me.
are. Wow.
The next question is, what about the different shapes? So in nature, like we see these giant amethysts, and it just looks like a big round stone, but they've taken a big saw and they've hacked it in half. But then with a lot of other crystals, there'll be a pyramid, there'll be an obelisk, there'll be round. What do the different shapes indicate?
Well, like a sphere is unending energy. So it's like continual energy. So you'll find like rose quartz and lots of different stones come in sphere shapes. But what's so crazy is it like a point you might use to manifest. Like if you were writing down some intentions and you put it on a piece of paper and you put your point on top of it, you are manifesting that intention with the crystal point. Like you're asking for it to happen, so to speak. Cubes are really good for gridding out rooms. What other shapes, Heather?
I like
Pyramids.
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 The points are good because you're putting the energy pointed upward. It's like a
Yes.
laser beam. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the cubes if you're trying to manifest money because it brings a solid kind of frequency. Your eye sees it. It sees a cube. It has this structure to it. It has a foundation to it. So the shapes are all very similar to, also pyramids. It's that pointed energy going up.
Hearts.
Hearts. I mean, shapes definitely have it's different layers. In today's world, you want to add all the different layers. You just can't be doing one thing to get.
I mean, you have to look at pyramids with some reverence.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look around the planet, how at whatever point that was, these pyramids popped up at the same exact time on totally different continents.
Yeah.
Where the human beings that built them had no contact with the other human beings that built the other ones. There's something really weird about pyramids.
Isn't it like the Egyptians and
Yeah.
and the Palladians?
Yeah, they all like popped up on the planet at the same time.
They all line up, right? Or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, they're all on the ley lines of the planet.
Have you ever slept under a pyramid?
No.
Have you ever been under a pyramid?
No.
Well, Heather used to.
Yeah. So when my husband first met me, and I felt like it was full disclosure, I used to sleep under a pyramid, a copper pyramid, because I was doing research on, is this regenerative? Am I going to meditate deeper? And so I used to sleep under that because I would put a banana under a pyramid and then have another banana that wasn't under the pyramid, and the one that was under the pyramid didn't
Age.
It didn't age.
What?
And so I would
Yes.
do, my house is like a walking scientific research lab.
Well, he was
There's-
wondering why she wasn't sleeping in a bed.
Yeah.
No, I'm out in the living room and under a pyramid.
Yeah. So now when we have crystals and I'm like, you had full disclosure, buddy. Okay. When you met me, I was under a pyramid.
Right.
But it's charging. It recharges.
Yeah.
What I want to know
Yeah,
is
it recharges. Yes.
Yeah.
the obvious question: did you consummate the relationship under a pyramid? at any
Oh,
point?
that's a
wow.
great
God,
question.
that's going back in some time. I'm sure I did.
Like what guy's going to argue with that? You could have like the
Exactly.
most skeptic guy and you're like, listen, we need to do it under the pyramid. Because if you're, oh yeah, babe, I love pyramids.
It'll take it to another frequency
Yeah.
Exactly.
of ecstasy. Yeah, I mean, come
Charging.
on.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I for whatever reason, I think just because you can't ignore something that's been that prominent on the planet, that I like pyramids. And I have a friend that owns a supplement company called Symbiotica. They make this really great
God, I love that name.
algae oil.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a vegan algae oil, and they put astaxanthin in it. And
Oh
it's,
my God.
It's 50% DHA by volume.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
insane. It's amazing
Where's
stuff.
this guy making this out of?
They have a lab. I think the stuff's made in, I don't know, Hawaii, Spain,
Okay, I was going
Germany,
to
somewhere.
say, because that's where all the best farms are for that.
Right.
Okay.
But his name is Matthew Blackburn. And I mean, if I'm a biohacker, he's like, next level biohacker. I learn a lot from this guy. But
Do
one
you take
thing,
it in drops or
yeah,
how do you
yeah,
just,
dropper
okay.
under your tongue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's got a little essential oil of lemon.
Wow.
And then some stevia extract. Yeah,
nice.
because it doesn't taste fishy. It's just
Mm-hmm.
all of the algae, spirulina,
Yeah,
chlorella,
yeah.
fish oils, krill oil. They're like all
Yeah.
super fishy and gross.
Wow.
So he found a great formula. But anyway, Matt at Symbiotica, they keep all of their inventory under a giant copper pyramid. And he swears by it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all of his, I walk in his house, he just moved, but he was in a cabin in Big Bear. And I walk in there, I'm like, dude, what the fuck is all that?
Yeah.
All of his supplements, all of his food are all stored just on his carpet in the living room under this pyramid.
Because it preserves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, you don't get it. You're not. I was like, what? He
God,
goes,
I
"Oh,
want to look at his product.
I know.
Okay.
Symbiotica.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
amazing stuff.
I like
so the shapes make sense to me. Also with sacred geometry.
Yes.
I mean, you
Absolutely.
guys have done Kundalini yoga at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, big time.
So that's one of those things like crystals that, I mean, I buy into Kundalini yoga, no problem. I go in and go, oh, you're getting rid of your past lives and this and that. I go, yeah, okay.
Sometimes I
Move your
remember
hands
doing
like
it. I'm
this.
like, did this guy make this stuff up? Like sometimes
Yogi-
when I've been doing,
totally.
But I
Yogi
mean,
Bhajan?
I love the whole thing. But I've been doing. I'm like, wait, I wonder if this guy's just messing with it. But it's the technology works. But there have been
It
times
is
that I'm like,
technology. Yeah.
do you think
Yeah.
he just was in a room just like,
Was
I
it
thinking of
I
things?
asked Guru Singh that, and I asked Tage that.
Okay.
Tage is my teacher at Nine Treasures, and I asked both of them on my podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, heads up for the
Yeah.
record. Was he just sitting around like
Yeah.
fucking smoking neem leaves or
Yeah.
something and
Exactly.
just like, oh, let me think. This one decalcifies the pineal
Right.
gland and opens up the third eye and
Yeah.
and cures diabetes. Like, because you eat a peach and then stand on your head and
Yeah.
count to 85.
But it works. All this stuff works. It's
I
crazy.
know.
Yeah.
It works.
Well,
So-
going back to the shapes, there's all of the sacred geometry within
Yeah.
Kundalini where
Yeah.
you're moving your arms in these
Yes.
patterns, 90 degrees, 60
Yep.
degrees, and it's very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the technology.
And
of Kundalini.
whatever it does, I don't know, but I feel really good.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to err on the side as far as the crystals go that, these elements, these energies from the planet have their own inherent power, and then man, using intention and technology to mold them into different shapes, has got to be able to amplify those powers.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Yogi Bhajan and some of these, these yogis, they always have crystals on certain fingers to enhance the energy because each finger relates to a planet. So when you have, I took mine off when I was doing work on you, but each finger, here's, if you want to have money, you put, sapphires on your index finger. So if you look at Yogi Bhajan, he always had specific
Interesting.
Crystals.
and he also had his own crystal collection, but so that's more Ayurvedic. But there's
Yeah.
a science to that as well with the gemstones and the planets and how they link to our hands into our body.
Rad.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you mention it, Tage has crystals. She's my Kundalini teacher, Tage Khalsa.
And she rocks.
She has crystal. Oh, you been to her class?
We went on, what was it?
Like a month ago.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
What was some like
At Rama.
At Rama.
Oh yeah, she teaches at Rama. Yeah.
And we
She's
did the
funny.
calcification of the pineal.
Yes, that's
And
what
I
she
have
taught
to say,
us.
I am feeling great. Yeah.
I know Heather said something. I'm like, do you think it was from her class?
I know.
The change?
Yeah, it's the decalcification.
Well, her whole house is full of crystals.
Okay, but why? Have you ever
Yeah.
asked her, like, because she's a smart lady.
Yeah, she is, and she's been doing the yoga thing for 30 years.
Yeah. Wasn't she a scribe?
Yeah.
Isn't she the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, for a long, long time. But yeah, I'm going to ask her about that.
All right.
But some of these things are just, I just take it for granted that it's.
Well, they're going to be finding you now.
Yeah.
I know.
They're going to show up all over the place.
I'm still
they
though.
like
I'm like
you now, and they're going to find you, and they're going to be around all the time.
I'm still attached to the size though. I'm still like, no, I need big ones in my house. How much are those? How much did you sell those 2 giant amethysts for?
20,000.
20,000 for the pair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a good deal.
I'll work on that.
Manifest it.
Okay. Speaking of shapes and odd practices. I've got to ask this. What is up with women inserting jade eggs into their vaginas and
The
cruising
yonis.
around
Yeah.
and living their life? Please
I
explain.
haven't quite tried that one. I don't know. Heather, have you?
Well, I think that if you look back, there's a very, I think it's Chinese.
Yeah.
It goes back.
Oh,
but
okay.
also, I think women are very much into self-pleasure now, and they want to be able, it's another way of strengthening. I know women have meditated with them. For some people, it's a sexual experience. For some people, it's about getting to know that part of your body and experiencing that. And I love that. Just the conversations coming up. And I love that you just even asked that. Like, how cool is it that we are now at that time? But you know what I mean? It's just, which is great, because then in your next relationship, wouldn't you want to have a woman who like has yoni eggs and she knows her stuff and she's like, come on, who knows?
There'll be a very strengthened area down there.
There's this woman, Kim Amani, forget the last name. She's been on a friend of mine's podcast a number of times, but she's quite famous on Instagram, and she's a sex therapist, sex expert, but she does like vaginal weightlifting.
Oh.
And so she
that's
holds.
cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah,
actually.
so she'll put some sort of sphere with some sort of rope connected to an object that's really heavy, and she'll cruise around and like hold it inside there and just grip it with her. What are they called? Kegel muscles?
The Kegels.
Kegel muscles.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's like she calls it pussy kung fu or something like that.
Wow.
This is a whole new
You
world.
do live a good life, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, who gets to do that every day?
And talk about it.
Come on.
I'm like, but I've always looked at that. I was like, I don't know, if my girlfriend was doing that, it's a little, even for me, a little out there. But the jade eggs, you're not like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not like the strong man of vaginal lifting.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not like
Right.
vaginal CrossFit or something. So
Yeah.
Vaginal CrossFit. I'm loving this.
somehow I find the what are they called? Yoni eggs? Is that what you
Yeah.
call them?
Yeah.
The jade yoni eggs. I find that to be a little more feminine and sensual than like weird.
But
and,
to the point of, and some people, I definitely think the mineral that it's the yoni eggs is in is important, because you want to clean it and you want to boil it and you want to make sure the bacteria or anything gets off of it. So I know people are making these with maybe Obsidian, which is more of a glass. And my concern is with that, and I know that they have phallical ones and all this, but when you're cleaning it, I'm concerned about the shattering and the breakage. So usually, if you go back into more of the ancient practices, they were made with like a high quality nephrite jade, which can endure that kind of heat to keep the bacteria off. Just side note conversation.
Thank you for going there.
You know what? That is what I like to do.
You know what?
You know
that
what
was
I mean?
very good.
Yeah.
So takeaway there is, ladies, don't make a homemade dumbass jade
Yoni
egg
like
out of
rose quartz. For the cleanliness factor.
Yes.
But everyone do it. Everyone has.
Well, I
opinions.
thought it was interesting, and I guess going back to ancient China where this originated from, I thought it was interesting that it's jade. There's a reason why they didn't just pick that for the hell of it.
Exactly, because it could boil under the heat.
Interesting.
So
Okay, cool.
There's a recipe to everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I've been fascinated by is another jade application, and that is in my Korean spa, Spa, they have a jade sauna room. And then they have the Himalayan salt room.
Yes.
What's up with with jade in large doses like that?
Well, it has, it has a healing effect, definitely, just as the Shungite rooms in Russia, where people go into to recalibrate their blood pressure. There's a healing, as mentioned before, every ancient civilization since the beginning of time have used these modalities. And when you go in each room, whether it's salt, whether it's jade, then you go into the cold and the hot. I love all that, with your body going up
marble.
and the marble. I mean, they all are definitely putting your body in different frequencies. And so we want our body to go in and out of that. But definitely jade has a very healing effect on it, which is why you see, what are those hooks, the Moris in New Zealand? They always have them made out of jade. And there's a lot of symbolicness. There's a lot of, you look at the Chinese, they have a ton of jade jewelry. Thank you, Cookie.
I know, Cookie.
Cookie,
you have been such a great
Cookie is cool.
interviewer.
Wow, God, I want to get Cookie with like a little necklace on with a little like crystal hanging from it.
She's
anyway
pretty much.
But
the
Cookie doesn't
coolest.
even need it.
Cookie's chill.
Cookie is chill, and I hope Cookie likes it here. But so
Cookie's
yeah,
she's a vegetable. She just, anywhere I put her, she'll just lay down and just go to sleep. Yeah, she suits my personality. It's funny, they say you begin to look like your dog.
Yeah.
I don't know if we look alike, but we definitely act alike.
Wow,
I
that's
can
a good
be.
day
I'm,
for you, Luke.
I'm very, very sedentary unless I force myself to get up and be really active.
Wow.
I love just laying around, laying down, sitting down, not doing
Cookie
shit.
is that's some
So-
relaxation, and I like it.
So we're peas in a pod as far as that goes. So let's see. So what about? I want to cover a couple of the specific ones. So we talked a little bit about jade, about the salt rooms, the healing benefits of that, and then the shungite. What about? And this isn't really a crystal, I don't think, but it's another mineral dealio from the ground. A lodestone. Do you guys know anything about that one?
Okay. Haven't worked tons with lodestone, but I know that a lot of people do work with lodestone more as like that magnetic pull, because it's the two coming together.
Yeah.
So I personally can't talk to that too much because I've played around with them, but I wouldn't be able to say that I've used them enough to know enough about them. I think they're interesting, but they didn't hold but I do know a lot of people use them. So definitely for
I
sure.
find that what I find interesting about the lodestone is they're magnetic. It's so weird.
which is really
it looks
cool.
like this piece of, asymmetrical coal, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then I put some of it in my glass water bottle, my live spring water bottle, and I dropped it in there, kind of like you would Shungite. I think I need a piece of Shungite. I'll add that in there. But I put it in there, and I dropped it in, and it went like whoop, and scooted over to the side. I was like, wait, this is some supernatural shit. But then I realized there's screws in the stand underneath the glass, and it was like whoop, and it just magnetized
put
to the
one
edge.
in?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
That's
Yeah,
Wow.
and I was like, oh, this is a trippy element, whatever this is. And
I
then
wonder what the molecular structure of that one is.
it's just so weird
What
that
is
it's
it?
magnetic to
Yeah.
me. And then someone gave me a giant one, maybe the size of a softball squished, and I put that, I like glued it to my headboard behind my head. Just for shits and shits and giggles.
Okay.
Because it said, like Shungite, that it can protect you from EMF and things like that.
Wow,
So I thought, well,
okay.
it's definitely not going to hurt me, and I didn't have anywhere else to put it.
Interesting.
Well, did
So-
you feel a difference?
It's when I do so many things.
Yeah,
That's the
okay,
problem.
all right.
It's hard to A/B test stuff
Right.
because it's just like so many things are going
True,
on, you
right.
know. But I'm not mad at it. It definitely didn't make things worse. Okay.
All right. Well, obviously there is something over there.
Or someone's at the door, something maybe.
Cookie,
So-
I like it.
So
Cookie's
what
risen.
about another one of my? Okay, you guys. It was really cute having the dog on the podcast
No,
before,
but I mean, Cookie's got something going on. And
Cookie
What
is
is it,
casing
babe?
out the joint.
she's getting too sensitive from all the crystals. She's
maybe,
like,
Maybe.
she could be,
she feels
seriously.
she feels spirits.
yeah.
What about black obsidian? What would that be used for?
Well, black obsidian is definitely it's the volcanic glass. And so there were arrowheads that used to be made of black obsidian, but I think that here, wait, you know what I was wondering?
Oh, arrowheads, Native American arrowheads.
What? There's something, you guys. What is
Yeah.
going on
I
over
don't
there?
know.
Wait, we should put Cookie down. I want to see what Cookie does. Let's
Cookie,
see.
go get 'em.
Like really, I'm serious. What's going on?
Go get him, Tiger.
Cook. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, you guys,
Wow.
that is crazy.
We're going to have to edit this part
Okay.
out.
No,
Okay.
I know. But wait.
Cookie. Jesus Christ. Sweetie, there's nothing, babe.
Wait, do you want to open the door? Will you open the door? That's interesting. Do you want to help him with the door?
Yeah.
All right. Wait. We're going to open it. Okay. All right. All right.
I'm like fine with her doing some funny stuff, but I'm like, okay, the full-on barking cookie. All right, sound editors, please take out that barking spree.
What is
That was
going on?
that was a
Cooks,
little
what's up?
that was a little distracting for our audience.
Yeah. So anyway, it's the arrowheads, but basically, that's about cutting away what. Once again, another tool when you're doing your own healing work. Like I want to cut away whatever's going on by that door.
Exactly. Spirits leave. Cut them out.
So has Cookie done this before? Is this a new thing, or have you noticed that?
Every once in a while at home, she'll do her little growls, but
Like-
it
like
usually
she
there's
sees
no one
something?
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no one there.
Okay, so
Well, maybe there is.
but maybe there is. So like to our human eyes, but dogs are so much more sensitive.
Yeah.
And like
Right.
The only thing Cookie is looking over it in the same place. Okay, Cookie has not looked over there once. Okay, Cookie, I'm like,
But she's a protect dog. I mean, she's a protector.
Yeah.
wow,
For-
what a cool. Okay,
All right.
so
So
anyway.
black obsidian, native.
Obviously, we need to get some black obsidian in the
Yeah,
room.
for
Cookie,
some protection. Thank you, Cookie.
Well, it's funny. When I was a kid, we used to go arrowhead hunting
Yeah.
in Colorado,
Yeah.
out in the plains, and we would find those. And
Yeah.
I just made the connection.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what
So
they were.
you see how this has been around for a while. All these things, you start making more sense. There's something here going on that we just can. It's another tool. It's another tool to add to the tool chest.
And then what about if I'm pronouncing right, hematite?
Hematite, love hematite.
Very
Hematite,
grounding.
golfers love hematite because it helps to bring your energy back down to
The
ground.
focus.
What was the we had a couple golfers that won.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
this is a funny story. My husband and his friend were wearing a necklace made out of hematite, and then another one was wearing one called Performance. No kidding. There was a pro behind them. They both got holes in one, like consecutively, wearing those pieces. So
Yeah.
it just
Wow.
keeps them very focused, like you said, grounded. You're very like in tune with the game.
Yeah. So if you ever that's even a good research. If you ever are feeling like you're scattered, holding on to a piece of hematite will help you feel centered and grounded. The whole thing with crystals is it helps you to feel.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. That's
Right.
for me, that's the bottom line. That's the takeaway. If I were to say, what are crystals here to do? They help us to trust ourselves and they help us to feel. That's it.
Well, it's interesting too because if you're working with them physically, like when I was on that mat and I had those those quartz sort of
Selenite.
selenite, those two bars that I was
Yeah.
holding. So, like imagine a really skinny beer can,
Yeah.
maybe like a Red Bull can,
Total-
kind
yeah.
of.
More of a
Red
Red
Bull.
Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one in each hand, and I was noticing. I mean, I was going into these sort of really spacey places, which was amazing. But the one thing that kind of kept me there is I didn't want to drop those, and so I noticed that I was anchoring my presence using my body, actually physically connecting to the stones.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
which
is-
We'll see. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I think there, and you guys gave me a set like that at home,
Yeah.
and I use them sometimes when I meditate, when
Yeah.
I remember to grab them off the table. But
They
they're in-
kind of anchor. I think
yeah,
that's a
they're
really
in my
good way.
living room. So I think with some of this, and I guess that's what I was trying to get at with the rituals is that there's a certain degree of presence
Yeah.
and intention
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
inherent to just setting up this thing in front of us that you have. I mean, there's a lot of care that goes into that and presence
Yeah.
that goes into
Yeah.
it.
It's ritual.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay.
Yeah, we all have daily rituals.
And then it seems like there's a number of different types of quartz. There's like this quartz, that quartz, this one, that one. Are there quite a few of those, or am I imagining that?
No, there are, and each one has different each has different mineral content. So you've got, smoky quartz, you've got citrine, you've got, different amethyst. There's so many different layers of all this. That's why it's kind of cool to go to Tucson, because every part of the world is represented there. So you get to see the whole world in the minerals. And Brazil has certain minerals. And then you've got Morocco, and they've got their minerals. And you get to, in India, and you get to learn and see what's going on our planet and the stones that are coming out of each region. And
so what did someone say today? They're like, it's almost like each crystal has their own personality. So they are minerals, but if you think of them as people or as entities, they really do have their own personality or energies, just like we do.
I'm sensing, this is very like the industry part of it to me is very Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like I can imagine these archaeological digs in Brazil and these different countries, and then they make the big score and they get
it's
mineral
a corrupt industry,
rights to that land, and then they bring them to Tucson and sell them. It must be a really interesting industry to be in.
It's a really interesting industry to be in. And I think that it's changed. We've been going to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show for the last.
So is that the mothership? Is that like the ultimate?
That is the mothership, and it's miles and miles and miles and miles long.
You could not get through it in 2 weeks. If you went through every part.
And
all the venues.
We now go for 9 days, and we take 4 people, and we can't even get through it. It's that big.
Oh my God, I got to go to this.
Oh, you have got to go.
That sounds epic.
Beyond. It's beyond.
Wow.
And
I think
that is also an indicator that this can't be just like, oh, they're just pretty. Like, why would people from all civilizations, all cultures, all nationalities, all continents, all countries, all be so into mining these things from the planet, refining them, harvesting them, polishing them, shaping them, and then bringing them to market for a consumer that's that rabid that it requires a huge a show like that. I mean, there's something to that.
And what's cool about the show is it's just not metaphysical people. You've got scientists there. You've got mineral collectors. They're not looking at. They're looking at. You have people that are looking for artwork at home decor.
Right.
You've got a whole bunch of different. It's not just one type of person. You've got a very large, diverse spectrum of people and what they're looking for.
And the person that probably has the biggest collection looks like the biggest bum on earth. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, they just are, I don't know. They're on the down low, I guess.
You
never know.
Yeah, they're the
this guy's got billions of dollars of crystals, and you'd go, he could literally be a homeless man on the streets.
Wow.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah, and now we've really put together and nourished these relationships with our miners. So we know them personally. So it's not like we're just buying our crystals from.
Yeah, so we get to go and buy directly from Madagascar. And so we're going to the different miners. So when Energy Muse in our crystals, it goes from the miner to us.
Wow.
So, but that's taken many years. But I mean, we're asking the questions like, how are these being mined? The same questions that are being asked in different industries are starting to now be asked in this industry. And it has some ways to go. I mean,
are there any issues in terms of environmental threat and loss of habitat or pollution in the ways in which these are mined and processed?
I mean, I'm sure there are people that don't follow every restriction that they should, but we don't really work with them. So
there's not. I mean, are there environmental groups that are pissed off at the amethyst, industry or whatever?
Absolutely.
Sure.
It's about keeping. I mean, fluorite for a point last year was being saturated from the earth, and it wasn't available. It was hard to get, and we decided that for a period of time we're like, we're not selling it anymore because we don't. It has to all be in balance. It's just now everyone's we can't keep taking. It has to be in balance. So that's important too,
But it's interesting, like different crystals will show up in different regions. Like all of a sudden, like you said, they'll find a score or a mine. Like when aquamarine showed up, was it in Pakistan? Aquamarine is a stone of tranquility. Well, there was a lot of disharmony happening there. Interesting that aquamarine showed up, right? So energies show up for certain reasons.
That's trippy. Can you just imagine what's what's underground that's not yet discovered all over the
Oh,
planet.
well, yeah.
Cool.
You know,
I mean,
there's
they're
so much,
starting to
so much
discover it
uncharted
Yeah.
in these
territory.
mines,
Yeah.
looking in these
Sure.
mines and going in, and even, I was talking to the guy, the one in Tourmaline Springs. I love him. What's his name?
Oh, Seth.
Just he's an interesting, because he, with the earth and with the water and all that, but just going deep into these wells that have these mineral components that we get to drink now, and
Yeah.
I think it all matters, and
That's really interesting that you brought that up, because when I was researching some of the different crystals to ask you guys about, tourmaline was one of them. And I thought, oh, Seth, Tourmaline Springs.
Yeah.
And then it brought me back. He's like, yeah, why our water is so badass is it's going through thousands of feet
So cool.
of these particular crystals and minerals to
Yeah.
get to our bottles.
Yeah.
And it's
very
like,
cool.
oh, shit, how it relates to the water.
Yeah.
And so then it gets into all the different things that are possible with filtration and
Yep.
all of that, of mimicking that process in
Right.
process from nature, but with man-made
But
products
if you
and things
are
like
thinking
that.
about all this stuff, we're having to ground. If you want to hardwire your house, you got to ground it in with a certain wire. These grounding mats. This is grounding. Earth plug in.
Right.
So I feel like that's how we maybe need to see it, as a grounding mechanism.
I love that. Wow. You guys make a lot of sense.
Wow,
That's great.
Geez, thanks.
Maybe we've demystified some of it for you.
Totally.
Okay, good.
Totally. Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, which one's right for me?
Oh,
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you, and then we'll wrap it up, because I got to get up to Venice to this event. I could sit here all day. Really, there's plenty more. But how do they relate to the different chakras? I've heard you talk about that. I was at an event you did, a dinner, I think, and you were talking about the relation of the stones to actually different locations on the body.
Well, Timmy, do you want to?
Well, I mean, kind of what you did, you picked some of the pieces or crystals, and Heather placed them on specific chakras while you were laying down on the mat. So it's like the colors of the rainbow. You start at your base with your red stones, or even your grounding stones, like the smoky quartz that you picked, moving up to your orange, your solar your sacral second chakra, and then your solar plexus would be your yellows and your citrines. So you can definitely balance out the body with the colors or spectrum of the crystals.
So for example, I do stone readings. So that's why I pulled your stuff, because I'm like, okay, what's going on with Luke? And it was cool to see what you picked, because you picked pyrite, which is like, you know what? You're ready to make some major things happen. Your will is there. That I love that you picked that, because you're like, you have the will, and then you picked amethyst, and you picked some other really cool citrines, and it's almost like you're there. You just have to figure out what you want your foundation to be. For me, that's what I kind of was feeling with you, is that you're ready to roll. Your intuition is there, your will is there, and it's about connecting your foundation and your heart. Now, you get those two things, bam.
That's interesting, though, that you're talking about the correlation between the chakras and the colors of the stones too, because if anyone that's ever seen a chakra chart or a map, they always have these relevant colors that go back thousands of years.
It's a rainbow.
Yeah.
Because we are the rainbow. We really are that. If you over in Hawaii, we are the rainbow. And when you have your colors of the rainbow matched, you're in the light. You're completely connected. You're completely aligned. You know your truth, and you don't get off kilter.
Rad. Wow, I feel balanced. What a great way to set up my talk tonight up in Venice.
God.
Well, before
You're
we
ready
go,
to roll, my friend.
I am. So before we go, what are you two really excited about right now? What have you got going on? I mean, you've got the book out. What's on the horizon? Where do you see this thing going as a business or just with yourselves?
Well, you know what? We are starting a subscription program. We're really into that whole deal. We've been working on that for a while. We're into
Where you'll get crystals sent to you every month?
Well, more so about courses where you'll be part of a subscription program.
Oh, cool.
Information.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so doing more courses online. We're doing definitely some more stuff with Hay House, and doing courses on how to cut the cords and how to work with crystals. A lot of people are very interested. They like it. They're like you, but they're like, how do I use them on a daily basis?
Right.
Whatever. And, obviously
Another
book and just traveling. We've been able to really travel to some fun places now.
I bet.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Okay.
Have you been to any of the mines in the various now that was a real person there, so
That
I'll
was.
give you
Yeah.
that one. Have you been able to go travel to any of the mines and things like that?
That is next on our list for sure.
Yeah.
That's
I bet
definitely
that-
next
Brazil
year.
and
Yeah,
Morocco, for
for
sure.
sure.
I bet that would be a really interesting experience,
Yeah.
you know, to see the earth cut into and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and,
Oh, yeah.
and get to see that extraction process.
Absolutely. So that is for sure.
Probably
on
really
the list.
fascinating. Okay, cool. Well, before we head out, I want to ask each of you the same question. You've taught me a lot today about crystals and everything else that we've discussed, and all of our listeners have benefited from that. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings that have influenced your life or your work? Could be in any category.
Well, I think for me, one, and we'll go back. I think for Ora Miller really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I mean, definitely there is a person out there actually.
Yeah.
I think that I love how he opened my eyes to what's happening with the whole EMF thing.
Yeah.
I definitely think Luke Story, you are somebody too, because I feel like what I like about you is that you're curious, and I think you keep educating people. So that's pretty rad.
Wow, that's the first time a guest has ever named me.
But
I'll take it.
But I think that it's important. You know what I mean? I
that's
think
cool.
it's that leading edge, and it's important that we have people that are trailblazers like yourself. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
And I just let me see, who else do you have? Let me think one more while you're talking.
Well, I would say for me it would be Heather, because Heather actually taught me about crystals. I mean, that's why I'm here at this moment. And you think sometimes souls come down on this earth. They made this contract up in heaven, and you're like, hey, you're going to teach me this, I'm going to teach you that, and we're going to come down the chute and we're going to learn these things together. Definitely crystals. I wouldn't be here without Heather, and I'm really grateful for that. And speaking of that soul energy, like I love Carolyn Mace and her energy. I agree. Luke is amazing. I mean, you definitely, you're on the forefront of something, and it's inspiring because we've been on the forefront, but people weren't listening to us. We couldn't get arrested. You're really lucky. Like, people are listening to you. You're in the perfect place at the perfect time, and you inspire us. So thank you.
Well, and one of the things with Luke, just one more thing about Luke, is that, you know, when you hear your voice, it's like you've got a good voice. But I'm like, is this guy like does he just give good voice? You know what I mean? And so it was a pleasure to be around you, because you seem to be, you've got it. The whole deal. So I wish the best for you, because I think so many good things are coming your way.
Oh, thank you.
So thank
I
you.
appreciate
very,
that.
very much.
We're excited. And we will be rubbing elbows with you, because that's good luck, because you got a lot going.
Absolutely. Who's your third, though?
Oh God. Okay. There's just so
Thought
many
I wasn't
people.
paying attention. You're gonna get
No,
off.
there's so many people. God, there's so many people. Jeez.
You can't flatter your way out of the third.
Well, the thing is that these ones, I don't know if they have like books or something. You know what I mean?
What about Nahi?
That's. You're
Oh my
freaking me out.
gosh.
That's exactly
No,
who I
I
was
mean,
just gonna
Nahi
say.
was coming in big.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Who's Nahi?
Nahi is a kahuna, a Hawaiian kahuna that literally
It makes
changed
me wanna
my
cry.
life like I can't. But she taught me a lot. She taught us a lot about Ho'oponopono, the art of forgiveness, and how to go through that technique. And I think that was really life-changing. So,
Well, and while we were writing our book, Meeting Ziki, was that her name?
yeah.
She was on the island of Molokai, which is not easy to get to. I'm just telling you. She was pretty life-changing too.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. So there's a lot. There's so
Lots
many
of great
people. We could be
people.
here all day, but I
That's
think that
great.
would be it.
No,
right
I'm
now.
going to let you off with the
Okay.
3, and you can share her third with these 2 Hawaiian mystics. So now we actually have a bonus. You guys gave 4 each, so we're good. I'm very strict about that closing qualification.
Well, thank goodness.
So. No, not really. I mean, a lot of people, it's like, my grandmother, she was so
Oh,
inspiring. And
wow.
some people,
Wow.
it's like, Jesus Christ, my
Okay.
Lord and Savior.
All right.
You know, it just depends.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
in closing, where can we find you on websites and social media and things like that? Where do you want people to go?
Well, we're at energymuse.com, and we've got Instagram and Facebook following, and also really great communities right now that are popping up on Facebook. So actually, we're taking a group through. Sarah, who works with us, she's like another muse, to take people through the book and have them go through the rituals.
Oh, awesome.
So,
In a Facebook group?
yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So that's happening.
I really like the Facebook groups too. It's fun. I have one for the show, and with my school we have a couple, and I'm a big fan of that, because without having to be physically with someone, you can actually go through an experience like that. It's very cool. It's a neat technology. And I'm always shocked at the degree of engagement that you get. I'm always like, I'll do this thing. No one's going to do it. And then everyone's like, hey, we're here. We're doing stuff.
Yeah.
We're all meeting one another.
People want the community.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat.
It's a big deal.
And I just want to say also, thank you both, and let everyone know that you should definitely go on their Instagram. You guys have a great Instagram. Your Instagram game is on point. It's beautiful. And if you want to see visually some of the things that we've been talking about in the show, I think that'd be a good first stop.
Well, thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for coming on, ladies. Until we meet again, I am off to Venice, California.
Oh, my God, lucky. That's fun.
Yeah, enjoy.